So thank you to Claudia Henschke and Bo Aldige for joining me and giving us your time to talk a little bit about the workshop and about quantitative imaging and lung cancer screening. So first, go ahead and let's have you introduce yourselves. Let's start with you, Claudia.
I'm Claudia Henschke. I'm a radiologist and in charge of the screening program at Mount Sinai.
I'm Carolyn Aldige, but I am mostly known to everybody as Bo, and I don't even answer to Carolyn. But I am the founder of the Prevent Cancer Foundation, which I got started in 1985, a year after losing my father to cancer, a smoking-related cancer, not lung cancer, but I've always been passionate about prevention and early detection because of losing him at a young age.
And that's kind of why everyone's here. Is quantitative. It's a quantitative imaging workshop, and that kind of goes hand in hand with cancer prevention and early detection imaging. And from what I understand, Prevent Cancer Foundation and lung cancer screening kind of also go hand in hand in a lot of ways. But would you like to talk a little bit about the history of this workshop, and then we'll get into a bit more about the history of lung cancer screening in general?
I would be happy to. You interviewed Dr. Jim Mulshine, but he is a thoracic oncologist. He was at the National Cancer Institute in 1999. And he called me one hot night in August, and he said, "Bo, you're not going to believe this. They have these two scientists in New York, radiologists in New York, and they have just published a paper. You've got to read it. It's in the Lancet, and it shows that using CT scanning can detect early lesions in the lung that are lung cancer, stage 1 lung cancer, which cannot be done on a chest X-ray." And he said, "We have got to meet these people. We have got to get involved with this." I mean, he was 100% in from the minute he read the paper, and I was too, because I thought lung cancer is still the leading cancer killer of Americans and globally. And if we can do anything to help reduce the terrible toll that lung cancer takes, then we should be all in.
Absolutely. Claudia, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of where things went from there when it comes to lung cancer screening?
Right. So we worked very hard on getting this paper and getting all the data together and really trying to show that lung cancer screening works. We didn't realize all the controversy that would come, but initially there was a lot of publicity, and we our really true friends that have stayed with us is the Prevent Cancer Foundation. Jim Mulshine and Bo Aldige have been there all the way, because anything new, I didn't realize, has controversies, because there are always naysayers. And as somebody said, it took a lot of effort and so on, and 2 randomized trials to show that we were right, that you can find it early, and if you find it early, you can be cured most of the time, over 80% and maybe as high as 95% if it's early stage. So it makes a big difference from normally it's less than 15%.
And as somebody who kind of pioneered lung cancer screening and CT scans in this...
Not just kind of. She did it.
Did pioneer this field. How has it grown, and how have you kind of seen things emerge and develop over time?
So, as I say, it goes through all sorts of stages, and when you read anything new, they all go through the same stages. Initial surprise, and then a lot of controversy. But now it's really gaining acceptance, and it's just wonderful to see it spreading throughout the world, and also very much in the US. But it's still not available, or most people still don't know about it. And I hope that this helps get the message across. And the Prevent Cancer workshop is so important, because it shows, it really takes screening to the next level of showing the quantitative impact, the impact that it can have on health of young people, middle-aged people, older people. You can get a lot of information as more research emerges. There's a lot of information that we can provide to talk about the health of a person.
And emerging research, I mean, sparking that is kind of one of the big benefits of putting a bunch of brilliant minds together at a workshop like the QIW.
Absolutely, it's a crucible.
Workshop. Yeah,
and it's the only one that really focuses on this. So it's the 19th workshop.
19th workshop.
Yeah. So that's really impressive. And each time it's been a real tremendous step in the right direction.
Yeah. So, Bo, tell me a little bit about kind of how the workshop has, since coming together, has continued to be a thing and evolve and change over
Well,
the
I will
years.
give Dr. Jim Mulshine full credit for getting this workshop going. I mean, it was his passion and his kind of prodding me to say, Bo, we need to start having we need to have a meeting on quantitative imaging. At that time, it was simply lung cancer screening. That's all we knew that you were doing with one of these CT scans. Since then, the CT scan has evolved, and it's about much more than lung cancer screening. On the same CT scan of the chest, you can identify not only signs of early lung cancer, but also early COPD, emphysema, and early cardiovascular disease. So with one CT scan, one simple test that is not only easy and non-invasive, it's paid for by private insurance and by Medicare. And yet it's still so underutilized. But here you can pick up signs of the 3 leading causes of death in America, which is the fact that there's still resistance to it and that only about 8 to 10% of the high-risk population actually avail themselves of this is, to us, just, we don't know how to, that's our biggest challenge right now. I think Claudia would agree, is the technology has gotten so far beyond where it was even when they published this paper in 1999. But getting people who know they're at high risk, and it's high risk is defined by the smoking history. They don't have to be a current smoker, it's just smoking history, or the person can be a current smoker. But why their primary care provider is not saying, get yourself to the nearest lung screening facility and get a CT scan. This is where there's just a communications breakdown.
Yeah, we thought when we published that we can look at cardiac disease and emphysema, we thought everybody would accept and everybody would go and get a CT scan, a low-dose CT scan, because it's a very low radiation dose.
Yeah, that's really important, Claudia. I think it bears underscoring that one of the original concerns that sparked the resistance early on was, the harms of all this excess radiation. And it's about as much radiation as you get by sitting in a plane and flying across the country. And that you do it once a year. I mean, so it's low dose and it's not dangerous. And that's a really important message to underscore. Sorry to interrupt you, Claudia.
That's okay. So it takes a scan from here to here, and we look at all the organs in between. There are lots of, in addition to the heart and to the lungs, but there's the liver, there's your esophagus, your thyroid, your thymus. There's so many organs that we've researched all of them and shown how to find early disease. And for instance, osteoporosis. Many people have osteoporosis, particularly as you get older. We can identify that. And then for some of those things, there are very good treatments. Like cardiac disease, you can save many lives. It's like Bo said, it's the leading cause of death in this country and actually worldwide. And yes, we can see it early and we can see signs. You can go and see your cardiologist. So it's an amazing one scan that takes you less than a breath hold. You just hold your breath and you get the scan. That's it.
20 seconds.
Yeah, we
20
went
seconds.
through the motions of it a year ago at one of the mobile lung cancer screening
you're
units.
right. You saw it.
To kind of get an example of it.
They went up to West Virginia. They have a mobile lung screening.
Oh, Steve Markowitz's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a very, very simple process, and extremely fast too. That's the surprising thing.
Yeah.
And non-invasive.
Yeah.
And you don't have to drink anything yucky the day ahead. It's just, it's a no-brainer.
Reminds me a lot of the early opposition to like cell phones or something, where just people thinking that it's a bigger
adoption of new technology, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So speaking of new technology and just the ability for technological advancements and research advancements to be able to help detect cancer early, how has Prevent Cancer Foundation continued to support lung cancer screening over the years and expand the research in this field of quantitative imaging?
So we hold this annual workshop, for one, which brings together a multidisciplinary group of scientists, researchers, oncologists, radiologists, computer scientists. I mean, I don't know of any other meeting that is quite so multidisciplinary, which is, I think, quite a characteristic and helps move the field forward. The foundation also funds, we fund grants, as I think you know, research grants and fellowships, and we've always funded something every year, at least 2 or 3 lung cancer research grants. We have one that's named in honor of a donor's father who died of lung cancer very young, and she fully supports that fellowship award every year. In fact, that award was received one year by a young researcher in Claudia's lab. You've already interviewed him. His name is Artit Jirapatnakul. And he was a fellow. He was pretty junior. And he's now an associate professor in their department. So he took what he learned during his fellowship and has been able to apply it and grow and become a very seasoned senior researcher. We fund grants at the global level. I think you may know that. They're invited, and we try to concentrate in low and middle income countries. I just came back from the World Cancer Congress, and we hosted a reception for all the fellows that we had funded through the Union for International Cancer Control, which hosts this Congress. And it was really a wonderful experience. We had fellows there they go from one institution and go to a different institution with funds we provide so they can learn new technology and then take it back to their home country. So we have a photo of a group there was someone from Vietnam, Iran, Serbia, India, where else were they from? Cameroon, Kenya, South Africa. So it was just the most gratifying feeling to know that in these countries where you think they don't have the resources, that we can help them get the resources so they can go back and take their knowledge and go home. And we have funded a lot of work in Nigeria and in Mozambique, much of it in lung cancer. So I think that it's fair to say that, and we're very active in the lung cancer policy area as well. We're part of a policy group it's a European policy group, and lung cancer screening is really taking off in Europe. And in fact, many European countries are actually adopting national screening programs and developing national screening programs in places you might not think about, like Poland, which has a huge high risk population because they smoke a lot. Croatia is another. The Netherlands, and they did the next big lung cancer screening study, which Claudia may want to talk about. But once their study was published and the results were much in line with what Claudia's group has done, that finally started the international ball rolling in terms of acceptance.
But just to amplify what such a research award means to a young researcher. So Arted now, who's an electrical engineer, because of that, partly because of that award and because he works hard, he's now an associate professor. So now he's going to take the data that we accumulate on screening and use AI, use the latest techniques to take screening to another level. Hopefully we can automate a lot of those steps that are very tedious. So I don't know how to really emphasize what a difference it made to a lot of researchers who are very prominent now, that Bo has supported all along in prominent positions, but also for young researchers, it makes a tremendous difference.
Well, and as someone who kind of had a similar experience early on in terms of PCF taking an interest very early on in lung cancer screening, I imagine that you must have felt a lot of that firsthand.
Absolutely. I went through all those same steps.
In fact, one young scientist who got funding from us when she was just starting out and got funding for a fellow to be in her lab is the newly named director of the National Cancer Institute.
Yeah, we just heard that.
Did you hear that?
From
Yep.
Jim? That's incredible. Like,
It really
it's
is.
amazing.
I mean,
I heard got a phone call about it, right?
Because
Yeah.
when you look at the roster of people you've
Yeah.
supported, the names are just amazing. Seeing them early, just like early detection of lung cancer, Bo detects the talent early.
Well, we try. But we believe in it. We, excuse me, we really focus on that next generation because they're the future. And that's what I kept thinking when I was with the World Cancer Congress. This is the future. And this made me feel pretty good about the future of lung cancer and cancer in low and middle income countries.
What does it mean to have, to know that you have the support of so many, like you've seen it at this point, the support of so many donors from all over the world wanting to help further PCF's mission, further the research, the grants, and the workshops like this where you generate so many new ideas and new possibilities?
That support is everything. It really makes a huge difference. Having a foundation support and standing behind what we did made all the difference. It led to the other trials that thankfully confirmed the findings. So it's critical to have that support, and a foundation, particularly Bo's foundation, is unique in that.
And then, Bo, you seeing that kind of support from
Well,
donors.
what
to
I
the
was going to
foundation.
say, you can't know what it means to us to have the donations that are made through Awesome Games Done Quick and coming in from all over the world. And we're all just glued to this screen to see, you see the thermometer just going up, 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 up. And we just think, these people are everywhere and they clearly see something and believe in us. And I hope that our track record, excuse me, has proven that we do know how to spend these funds wisely. And I would love to continue to do that because it means more than you can imagine. It really, so much to this foundation.
I'm always amazed that just the average, or I believe it's the average donation, not even the median,
$40
is so low. It's under 100 consistently every year, and it's just
I think it might even be under 50.
just that. Yeah, it changes.
But when you multiply it by 600,000 or a million, it strengthens numbers. And we love it when we see $5 from Iceland or $10 coming in memory of someone's aunt who just died. It really gets to us.
Well, before I started working on screening, and it took all of my time and energy, but I was doing little video games. Pac-Man, you probably don't even.
no, absolutely.
So that my mouse is a gaming mouse. My current mouse is a gaming mouse that has all these little extra clicks. Unfortunately, I haven't had time. I've been so focused on screening, but maybe one of these days I'll get back into.
That leads me perfectly into what game are you getting into next, or rather, tell me a little bit about if you have any history with gaming and video games. Just a little silly question.
Well, the Pac-Man, is that an initial game
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're big on the retro games too. So like we've got people who will, the big old arcade cabinets and everything. They'll have those disassembled and fit in like a shoebox almost, just all the parts from it, so that it can now hook up to a TV and they'll still be doing.
My son had a Nintendo.
Yeah.
So the games that you all play are the ones he was playing when he was 10 years old or 8 years old. And Super Mario Brothers was one of my favorites. He used to play that a lot. Now I know a little more about what's going on these days because we have 3 grandsons and they love to play games. So I know a lot about Roblox.
So you'll tell me, when I have time, you'll tell me what the latest one.
They will. You need the 11-year-old.
Okay.
A silly little question, because everybody's pretty familiar with Super Mario Brothers. How fast do you think somebody can beat Super Mario Brothers? Because that's our whole thing. We do speed running. We play the game as fast as we can. Claudia, I'm going to start with you because probably Bo might have absorbed something a bit over the years. Take a guess. Just the old classic Super Mario Brothers.
I have no idea.
Random, throw a number out there for me.
Seconds?
Close, close.
3 minutes.
Very close. 454, 455, I think. We're looking at it, but it's a game that people could sit there and be frustrated at for days and weeks. And
it is 4 minutes, 54 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, I'll remember that next time.
At this point, people played that game so much that it comes down to people are counting every
Seconds,
single
yeah.
frame, even less than seconds. They're counting. They'll know when they beat it by the smallest minutia.
Nanosecond.
The top 4 actually all have the same second. It's divided by milliseconds.
Oh my Lord.
Milliseconds, I was going to say
Amazing.
milliseconds.
Wow.
So there's still a lot of room for improvement, 4 minutes and 55 seconds.
You gotta get it down.
We get it down to 4:53. We will expect that in January.
Yeah, we'll work on that one. We gotta just shrink it. I mean, you got 4 minutes and 54 to cut off, so it's we'll work on that. Well, thank you so much. I don't want to take up too much of your time. If there's anything else that you wanted to say, either to the audience out there of Games of Quick specifically, or anything you want to say that people should know about lung cancer screening that we haven't already covered, or anything that you wish I had asked you that
There's so much more to be done. So continue gaming and continue supporting the Prevent Cancer Foundation. That will make a huge difference.
Well, I guess I would like to conclude with a great big thank you, not only to Games Done Quick for keeping this organized and keeping us as the beneficiary, but to all the donors who participate and watch awesome Games Done Quick and feel moved to support our foundation. So I can't ever say thank you often enough.